when the community calendar got brought up a couple years ago, Brandon just said, I want a place for people to be able to get plugged in with each other across the entire county.
I wanted to know how having this like single hub has been a community driver for people showing up in the real world.
In the case of Jasper County, as far as bringing people together, our board of supervisors is obviously the heart of it all. I feel like it's their vision and it's sort of their mission. There's older people on our board of supervisors and in our leadership, and there are younger people. And so when the community calendar got brought up a couple years ago, Brandon just said, I want a place for people to be able to get plugged in with each other across the entire county. And so whether that's 4-H events or that's car seat safety events, just because we're in Newton, and so that's like the big town in our county, and a lot of things happen in Newton, and Newton has their own chamber and their own all of the things. Really, it's about some of these other smaller towns that have smaller town gatherings and groups and classes and trainings and all of the other things. And they wanted to bring that all together to show that Jasper County is all of these things all in one place. And that
Mhm.
sounds like hyperbole and cliche, but really what it means is that Jasper County is more than the Board of Supervisors. It's more than their elected officials. It's more than their department heads. It's more than driver's licenses and property taxes. It's really about bringing things together, resources for people in Jasper County of all ages and of all needs and all desires.
Jasper's having a proactive approach to
Yeah,
getting the community together.
and our board is also very aware of the needs of our county. So I think our public health department is a little bit different than some public health departments. A lot of public health departments really are focused on vaccines and like literal sickness awareness. Our Department of Health has a huge pulse on the needs as far as socioeconomical needs of the people in
Mhm.
Jasper County. So the calendar was also what inspired that was how can we help people know where the food banks are, especially in the most recent crisis? Where can people get a free clothes and a free meal? Where can people go to addiction recovery classes? We have multiple addiction recovery classes on the community calendar that are put on by churches, but also Al-Anon and AA and other sort of non-religious support groups. So I think by the Board of Supervisors and the elected officials and department heads having a really good pulse on the needs of Jasper County citizens, I think that was the other thing. How can we get more resources in other people's hands?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that by having a community calendar where you have resources needed for people who need help right
Mhm,
alongside like a library craft, it takes
mhm.
out some of that stigma of somebody being
Yes.
needing help, and
Yeah.
just allows that access instead. And it really reduces that, or enables the cognitive accessibility where you're in crisis, everything feels difficult. One more click through a website, another link to go to, another form to fill out can just feel like debilitating.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
really like seeing that the help that is offered throughout the county isn't some sterile PDF with a disconnected hotline somewhere, but it's a proactive community lifting everybody up together. Can you
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about how having everybody that's trying to serve the community on one calendar has helped with planning resources like food banks on all Saturdays and
Right.
versus throughout the week?
It's an unintentional but intentional way of everything feeling like it's together. It's the towns not feeling like they're just Linville, they're just Sully, they're just Newton. Because there can be a stigma of these are these specific towns things. Not every one of our towns has a city library. Not every one of our towns has all of these different spaces that are going on. And so it makes it feel like cohesiveness. But at the same time, I think what it brings along is other people to be able to partner together. So if you're going to have I don't know, one of the big things right now is slime labs. So you get together and you're creating a slime lab on a day for kids when it's an early out day, because you want to keep those kids busy in that community.
Mhm.
One of the things that we hear is they're able to share resources because they know that this person is having this. So it's not about being territorial. There should be, if it's going to bring kids into a library and there's
Yep.
10 slime labs a week. But what it does is it unintentionally brings them together, because when they all get together, they all have done the same thing. They can figure out what works for them and what doesn't, and they can share resources, which I think is really good. I don't think that it's a toggling between, well, you just had a spring market fair and now we're going to have a spring market fair.
Hmm.
And again, I know that seems so basic, but that's the beauty of it. It's just so simple that you now have Prairie City's library, or Sully can now get a hold of, Newton or whatever, and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that one of the things that we talk a lot about is that we need to build community, we need to build belonging, and people get stuck on like, what does that actually look like? And I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a simple idea, but it's really powerful when it's executed. And being able to be in community and be known is
Yeah.
what's so important because
Yeah.
if you're somebody that's able to come to a slime lab every week and then suddenly you're hitting food insecurity and you know the place to go because you've seen that before, or
Right.
people within that facility can say, "Oh, hey, did you hear about this?" That being known for access, I think, is so vital. I'm wondering how having everything from like the treasurer's office hours to
Yeah.
veterans coffee,
Yeah.
blending of that official business with the community gathering, how you feel that's been humanizing the county and the services you offer.
Well, it's sort of an unintended benefit. So, for example, we have a levy hearing next week. And so instead of me just posting something on Facebook, because there's a lot of traffic already, being able to integrate those two things, you're sort of, again, unintentionally inviting people to see that you can go get your kids permit on the second Saturday of every month. We have a lot of departments who don't have a Facebook presence. They choose not to,
Hmm.
and that is completely fine with that, fine with us. But it does give us a way to sort of add government meetings or special office hours.
Yeah.
Pretty soon there's going to be a primary election, and there's probably going to be a Saturday voting day. That's a
Hmm.
huge deal. So it helps people realize we're sort of meeting them where they're at. So not every more and more people are dropping off of social media. There's a
Yeah.
huge trend right now of people going back to dumb phones. They
Yep.
don't want to be connected all the time. So you have to go back to the old fashioned calling the office. And Jasper County is great because you can walk into any office and you see a person. A lot of
Hmm.
people have people's personal phone numbers and email addresses. And so for me,
Yeah.
it's just a really unique way of what, even though we're growing in some areas, it helps us remain small. Um, and I think the other thing that it does is it inspires our elected officials and department heads to have more events and then share the event details. The last 4 years, I've really wanted to drive people back to our website, because that is the
Hmm.
main place where everything is. And so while you do post a press release on Facebook, or you do post a fishing event on Facebook, I've really hammered home, let's drive people back to the website. Why? Because they're going to fall onto the calendar.
How does the calendar help bring to the surface things like the CARES group and other nonprofits and conglomerates that might have been previously hidden across the social media pages or websites?
There were two people that specifically were really pushing this. One of them was Brandon, and at the time, he was the chairman of our board of supervisors, and he's on the board of supervisors still. And the other one is Becky Pryor, and Becky is the director of public health. And so Becky created a group called CARES from the public health department. CARES is a cohort. I think there's like 10 people on her board, maybe 8 people on the board of CARES, but there's like 300 partners, not just
Wow.
in Jasper County, but throughout. And all of that information is on our website, on the health department website, under the resource guide. And so really what it was, okay, so you know where to call to get a free car seat, you know where to call to maybe get tutoring help, or rental assistance. But we know that there's events going on that people can go to sign up for rental assistance or daycare assistance,
Mhm.
or addiction resources, you name it, there's events. So she's like, there's meetings and there's groups and there's resume help workshops. There has to be a place for this. So before we transitioned, we had a form up that you could put your event on the calendar pending county approval. And
Mhm.
then this came in the picture. So between Brandon and Becky, those two people, they were really pushing it. And I said, that's fine. You let me do the work. You
Mhm.
gather the events and I'll do the work. And I think for CARES, because they have they have the biggest pool of resource contact information and resource events. I mean, it was honestly a no-brainer. And she talks
Yeah.
about it at every single cares. They have a meeting every other month on the
Mhm.
second Wednesday. And so they talk about it all of the time. The partners know what that's there, and I know that because eventually I start approving their events. But
Mhm.
they're still giving their events manually to
Mhm.
the health department. So they see value in it. They're like, well, this is easy. Please, yes. In this particular case, Becky, she is the one of the biggest champions of this. And she talks about it all the time. So yeah,
So
yeah,
how do you manage all this as a part-time coordinator?
it's a priority for me. I am naturally passionate at what people are passionate about, and so then that naturally puts a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
But I do the best I can, but it's important, and it's an investment for the county, it's an investment for the taxpayer. But it's just going to continue to grow, and the more buy-in that I get from other department heads and elected officials and
Mhm.
community people, it's this isn't going away at all. Like so this is something that we'll just keep investing our time in. So yeah, and
Yeah,
resources.
that's really great to hear to know that it's really effective and working and worth your time. And I love that, like, I'm passionate about what other people are passionate about. That's such a driver for community building, for understanding, for relationships, and building that sense of belonging.
Right. Yeah.
A resident can find everything from Narcotics Anonymous to slime labs to YMCA events all next to each other. Can you talk about the importance of having this visual, easy to navigate interface to reduce any stigma associated with getting help?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things that are crucial. I think you have to think about how are people getting access to these things. So, and I mean that like physically, are they using a
Hmm.
tablet? Are they using an iPad? Are they using an Android? Are they using something that they've purchased, from Shein or Temu? Like
Hmm.
those are things you have to think about because people just simply really can't afford to run out and buy a brand new MacBook or a computer.
Yep.
And a lot of them are hand-me-downs. And so that's where my brain goes. So in my mind, less is more. The number one thing is it has to be optimized for all devices.
Yeah.
Um, I want to be able to walk someone through it as they're seeing it if I need to do that. But also what I create here, I want it to look like here. And I
Hmm.
work with a lot of platforms. I work with a lot of companies between church and the county and the other nonprofits that I help. And I'm telling you right now, you guys have it down because I have a couple of partners that I work with where I have to literally design things for this page, and then I have to
Hmm.
shut off the page, and then I have to turn around and redesign it just for the app. And
Yeah.
I do not have time for that. And so you
Right.
guys have this down. And so to me, that's the first thing that I think about.
Yeah, and we understand that most of our community admins that are building this out are going to be on their government issued laptop to build it out, and most of the people accessing it are going to be on their mobile phones, and that's why we have that delineation.
Yeah, yeah. So it's great and it's yeah, it looks native. So the idea that you've been able to sort of integrate to other cities and other county websites, I think it's important because you want it to look like it was built to be there. So yeah.
You touched on this a little bit already, but to circle back, with events spanning from Newton to Prairie City, Baxter, how does centralizing the communication help uplift the smaller towns that might otherwise feel disconnected?
Well, I think that you talked a little bit about it earlier. I think that in particularly in Jasper County, it can feel like there's a stigma. It is not there anymore. And I've lived here my whole life, but there's a stigma that Newton was the end all be all. And
Mm,
Newton is great, but Sully is great. Prairie City is great. Our towns in Jasper County are amazing. They have amazing leaders. They've got amazing families that live in them. They're growing. They have amazing schools. And so
mhm,
I think that what happens is when you tell a librarian who has a shoestring budget, whose
mhm.
whole life's goal is to read to kids on story time and have
Yeah,
people get back into physical books. And then you tell them, I mean, I watched their faces light up during the budget hearing. I mean, I, they said, "Are you have that?" And I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "Email us." Like again, I
yeah.
don't sound like a broken record, but it's really just simple things that just helping them know that you care. Because they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So
Right. It's all about serving the community.
it's all about serving the community and helping. parents and families and people
Mhm.
find the resources that they need to find. So,
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think Jasper County is really providing us a master class in systems thinking,
yeah.
and how to really make it effective and a change for people, which is what matters the most.